Now then everybody, in this video I wanted to chat about some of PC gaming's hidden gems. So these are all games that I've played and I think are great, but either the reception of those games wasn't amazing at the time, or they've just kind of been forgotten by gaming history. So I've got 4 games I want to talk about, each special in their own way, and we're going to go in chronological order of their release, starting with this 1990 classic game. So, the first game is the 1990 classic Stunts. Difficult to say that without sounding rude. It was released by Distinctive Software. Well, that's not quite correct. It was programmed by Distinctive Software and published by Brønderbund. I have such trouble saying that word, Brønderbund. Is that right? Is it Brønderbund? Comment please. What this game was, it was a pretty basic driving simulation game. What made it fun was they had a track editor, and in the track editor you could put in all kinds of crazy things like loops and corkscrews and really high banked corners and things like that. So you can make some really crazy things. You can have loop going into loop going into loop, getting higher and higher and launching you off on the end and things like this. And the track editor was fairly basic, but it was still a lot of fun putting things together. So the track editor was like a little grid effort. I think it was 32 squares by 32 squares, and you put the track laying out very basic, kind of like road, corner, loop, road, banked corner, whatever it was. And then you got to race that track. But that was the best bit about it. You put the track together yourself and then you got to race it, and it was crazy. You could often careen your car off and crash it. The crashes weren't spectacular, but it was a great fun game. Whenever I watch like GTA Online's races, when they have all these crazy tracks, it's very reminiscent of that. If there were to remake it, it'd be very similar to that sort of thing, where you have these crazy tracks that you can race around. But it was a great game. 11, I think it had 11 cars you could play with, and race these tracks. It also had a great replay system where you could export your replays and mess about with them to make crazy little videos, which, this is 1990. The game came on floppy disks. It was pretty decent for its time. It was also called 4D Sports Driving on the Amiga, and I had a blast with this thing. I'm not sure it holds up too well. It's nearly 30 years old for a start, but yeah, it was a lot like the crazy tracks you see on GTA Online. That the feeling of playing those is very much the feeling of playing Stunts with a track editor, and it was good. Great game. Next on the list is a often overlooked point-and-click adventure. It's Simon the Sorcerer. It was released in 1993 by AdventureSoft. It was the first big game that AdventureSoft did, and they got in the peerless Chris Barry to do the voice of Simon, and it was because of Chris Barry doing the voices of Simon that I bought this game in the first place. I was a massive Red Dwarf fan, saw that he had done the voice and was like, great, get it. And I'm glad I did, because it turned out to be a cracking game. It did a great job of sending up fantasy tropes and being genuinely funny with those tropes. I remember one scene, you go into a pub, and it's supposed to be a fantasy setting, so it's all like set in medieval times with dragons and trolls, and one of the first puzzles you have to do is you have to knock a troll off the bridge by convincing a goat he's got to get to the other side, so he knocks the troll off. Very good. But there was a scene in the pub, and the pub's got a fruit machine in it, and so you ask the barman, why have you got a fruit machine? And the barman goes, I don't know, I don't even know what it is. But I'm sure it's broken because the guy who sold it to me said it fell off the back of a lorry. I mean, It was good, clean, honest fun. The send-up of the tropes was great. It incorporated all kinds of classic fantasy tales, like I've already mentioned, Billy Goat's Gruff, Gollum's in it, all kinds of stuff like that. And there's an evil snowman somewhere, and you got to melt him with peppermints or something like that. Great game. Unfortunately, made a bit of a hash of the 25-year anniversary edition. They tried to put an upscaler on it, and it makes it look kind of cack. So the best way to play this one is actually to get the game on some original media, which is much more difficult to do. However, if you don't mind the way the upscaling makes it look, and you can persevere with that, play it, because it's just got some great fantasy trope send-up. Next on the list is a game released by former Bullfrog employees. And of course, there wouldn't be former Bullfrog employees if it wasn't for everybody's favourite company, EA. So after EA had done, their usual thing of flying into a company, buying it, and then making it basically destroy itself, these fellows went from Bullfrog, formed Muckyfoot Productions, and made this game, Startopia. Basically, Startopia is a theme hospital in space. The idea is that you're a space station manager, and you've got to manage this, or build up these space stations from derelict to be thriving commercial adventures. The humour element that is there in the Theme Hospital series and Theme Park series and all those kind of classic Bullfrog games is definitely there in this game. It's very funny. There's a artificial intelligence called Val, who is kind of like the paranoid android personified. He's very acerbic, very witty, and it's good. Their roots are clear. It's clear that these guys were Bullfrog employees and have made this game, and I think it actually holds up pretty well. Don't zoom in. Play it from far back, it doesn't look too bad. If you zoom in, it shows its age quite a bit, but it's still got some good gameplay elements, and it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend you go and check out Startopia, because it was critically well received, but the public just didn't get on board with it, so go play it, it's a corker. And the last game on the list is a Star Wars game, bizarrely. LucasArts released Republic Commando in 2005, and it's a great little squad-based shooter game. One of my favourite things about the game is the fact that it did something not a lot of Star Wars games are doing at the time. It put you in the shoes of just like a normal person in the galaxy, rather than, an all-powerful Jedi. You're a soldier. A good soldier. It's got a lot of gear. Obviously, they're commandos, so the fact that they can go and kill wave upon wave of enemy is a bit not your normal sort of thing. But you're not an all-powerful Jedi who can sweep away enemies with a swipe of the hand and throw lightsabers and that. You're just a soldier. You've got to use the equipment you've got to fulfill your mission, but it's good. The squad mechanics are very basic, but the story's good, the atmosphere's good. It's one of the few games that nails the Star Wars feel. Weird thing to say, but if you've played a good Star Wars game, I think you'll understand what I mean by the Star Wars feel. This game nails that, and in my opinion, it's one of the games from LucasArts backlog that really deserves a remake. It needs to be remade to bring it up to date with modern shooter mechanics, but the story's good, the basic squad commands were good. It didn't bog you down with that kind of stuff the way that some squad-based shooters can do, but it gave you enough control to be able to pull off flanking maneuvers and all that kind of stuff. So, it was a decent game. I really enjoyed it, but it was vastly overlooked by the majority of people. It probably holds up not too bad. I haven't played this one since, when I first played it. I 13 years ago or whatever. But yes, another one I recommend you all go and hunt down and get, because decent, and you don't get many decent Star Wars games anymore, do you? So that's my initial list of PC gaming's hidden gems, but I'd like to hear from you guys. Have I missed some games that you think are hidden gems that the majority of the gaming public have kind of not really cared about, or you know, that weren't released to much fanfare but you think were great? I'd love to hear from you. Please leave me a comment. So, here we are at the end of the video. Usual stuff, please give this video a like, please leave a comment, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.